Have you experienced the awesome power of the Panasonic Real 3DO system? Obviously.
Presenting 3DO, the most advanced home gaming system in the universe. It's time to put away your toys.
3DO from Panasonic, Gold Star, and Creative Labs. A new low price and free games.
Mind-blowing graphics of Panasonic Real 3DO. 3DO.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO retrospective podcast where we talk about all things 3DO, the 3DO company, the console, and everything in between. Kind of screwed up the intro there, but oh well. I'm Bill, and this is Thrak. How you doing, Thrak?
Fuck it, we'll do it live. I'm doing just fine, Bill. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Just kind of tired and beat to hell with winter and everything, but that's besides the point.
You should drink a 5-hour energy. Maybe that'll help.
Honestly, it'll probably just put me to sleep. That seems to be how caffeine works with me sometimes.
Okay. I've never had a 5-hour energy. It just looked like a heart attack in a bottle.
See, there was a short period where my favorite NASCAR driver was sponsored by them, i.e. why I have this hat. And I bought them when he was sponsored, and then the sponsor ditched him at the end of the season. I was like, fuck this brand. And I never bought another one.
Well, you have the hat.
Yeah. It was a nice hat. Like,
yeah,
nice embroidered and everything.
Hey, we see the top of your head.
Yeah, I have a lot of hair.
Well, I was going to make like a Tim Pool joke because, you know, he always has the beanie. He never takes it off.
Yeah.
Do you think it's the same beanie or do you think he has multiple ones?
I'm convinced he's a robot secretly.
I just think he's an idiot. But he provides a lot of funny content.
You ever seen the video? So he did is he the Apple guy or are we thinking of different people?
You're thinking about what, Tim Cook?
Oh,
CEO
Tim
of
Cook.
Apple?
Yeah. For some reason I thought Tim Cook. Never mind.
I'm talking about Tim Pool, the political commentator.
Okay, yeah.
He always had I don't know, I guess you don't know him. He always wears a beanie. He never takes it off. There are pictures of him without the beanie and he's clearly balding, but it's like, bro, just accept it. It's okay. It's not that big a deal. You know, that's far from the worst thing about him. I think he's a complete piece of shit, but we're not here to talk about that. Instead, we're here to talk about a fun game. But before we talk about this fun game, talk about another game, and that is before this episode, I beat Star Wars Jedi: Fallen Order. And I gotta say, this game was fantastic.
This is the one that Respawn did, right?
Yes. They also did Jedi: Survivor. And apparently the Jedi: series is supposed to be a trilogy. So they are working on the third one. Oh, nice. I'll probably play Survivor because I think it's supposed to hit. It says it hits EA Play in about April. And Game Pass is tied to EA Play, so I'll probably play it then. But yeah, Jedi Fallen Order was fantastic. Honestly, it's probably the best Star Wars game I've ever played. Nice. And there's a lot of great Star Wars games. A lot of people love KOTOR. I get it. KOTOR wasn't really my thing from a gameplay perspective. I loved the old Pandemic Star Wars Battlefront games. I still love those games to death. What else? I never played Force Unleashed. Republic Commando is a lot of fun. I quite like Empire at War. There's a lot of Star Wars games. The Lego Star Wars games are good, but I don't know. This one just really hit for me. You know, it was perfect, and I beat it in just under 20 hours. So I could have went back and got everything, but I just didn't feel like it. But it was good. I really, really enjoyed it. So,
did you ever play the Star Wars Episode 3 game on DS?
Yes, I played on GBA. Okay, and I have the GBA version over in my collection behind my shoulder. They're the same game.
Are they? I thought the the DS one has 3D like Starfighter sections.
Yeah, but they're both like 2D beat 'em ups.
Yeah, side-scrolling beat 'em ups. They are
and
surprisingly really good.
Oh yeah, like they have the Anakin and the Obi-Wan path, so you get slightly different stories. The boss fights were fun. You get like force powers, and at the end you fight each other, and it's great. And then there was also the console version, the PS2 Xbox version. I haven't played that game in a long, long time. And if
It's
I
like
remember, it has
so
some
okay,
similarity.
it's average, like I believe.
Like it has maybe some similarities to this one, like from memory, in terms of it's a game where you're just a Jedi and the whole game is like, oh, isn't it cool to be a Jedi? But I'd have to play it again. I think it's backwards compatible, so I could give it a shot. And I never played the Force Unleashed games. I've heard
The first one is really good. The second one,
yeah, but I saw somebody compare it to like Fallen Order, and it's like they're not really the same.
no,
Like Fallen Order is like baby's first Souls like, whereas Force Unleashed looks more like just a typical hack and slash kind of game.
Force Unleashed is a really good hack and slash with some downright awesome Force like gameplay. Like,
yeah,
it's like playing if you were Silver the Hedgehog and it was good, basically. That's
that's hard to pull off.
Yeah. That or Psychonauts are probably the two best examples of how to do psychic powers.
God, I need to play Psychonauts.
But the reason why Force Unleashed to me is so good is the story is just so freaking fun to follow. Honestly, it's better than anything that Disney shat out since they got the license.
I will say, Fallen Order has a very good story. It's kind of like light versus dark stuff, but it's done really, really well. Like I enjoyed all the characters, and it handles the whole like being a lone Jedi post Purge, right? But pre New Hope, like how they're dealing with it. And there's various Jedis you meet, and they all are sort of dealing with it in different ways. So, and I thought it was handled very, very well. And the ending wasn't too bad. So it definitely leaves itself open for a sequel. And I have no idea what Survivor's story is. And I don't want to know until I play it. So
I'll give Respawn credit. They're probably the best thing EA's purchased in a long time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Respawn. Wow. Like after playing Titanfall 2 and this, goddamn, what a great dev studio. Like they're able to do a kick-ass first-person shooter and a kick-ass third-person action game. Wow.
They were originally like Infinity Ward guys, right?
I think so. It was either Infinity Ward or Treyarch. One of the two. One of the two odd studios.
I want to say Infinity Ward because I believe all the Titanfall stuff was like from the original Call of Duty creators, which I believe was Infinity Ward.
I think it was Treyarch.
I thought Treyarch came in later to do 3.
And I could be wrong.
The console games.
So yeah, it was the guys who co-founded Infinity Ward left to co-found Respawn. Yes. And the first Call of Duty game was made by Infinity Ward. You are correct. They didn't start up until Call of Duty 3. So yes.
Plus, I believe they did Finest Hour and Big Red 1, the PS2 Xbox versions.
Love Big Red 1. One of my favorites.
Solid game.
So what have you been playing? Anything interesting?
Nothing too crazy. I was playing a bit of Batman Arkham Asylum recently because I got I picked up the on Switch. They put the full trilogy up, which essentially means you play Asylum and City. Don't even bother playing Night because fuck, that game doesn't work. But yeah.
So you got the Return to Arkham?
Yeah.
Nice.
Only play Asylum and City. Night doesn't work on Switch at all.
Oh, you got the Switch versions?
Yeah, well, I already have them on everything else, so I figured I'd give them a shot on Switch. Asylum and City run great on Switch.
Is City, the version on there, is it based on the Wii U version?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because from what I heard, City ran the best of the 3, which could be because they're using the Wii U port of it to like as the foundation potentially. But I'm sure Asylum would run just fine on there as well.
Oh, Asylum, I had no issues with. The only one that I've heard has any problems is Night, but also Knight is Arkham Knight.
Well, that game still looks really good. In fact, I booted up on my Series X. Wow, what a gorgeous game. But like I saw game footage of the Switch version of Arkham Knight running at like 0 FPS. Like the game would just freeze. Like it's bad. Like why didn't they should have just done Origins.
Yeah,
I know they don't like to count it, but Origins is a good game.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I like Asylum and Origins are the only two I've beaten. Like City's on my backlog. I've played it a couple times, but I never sat down and committed to it. That's why, because it's so big. But it is good. and I'd like to get to Night at some point as well. So yeah,
Night, I enjoy Night. The biggest problem I have with Night is that Paul Dini clearly did not contribute to the story this time around, and it shows.
Mm-hmm.
But God, Asylum and City, Arkham Asylum alone to me is like the best superhero game I think ever made.
It's probably the best 3D Metroidvania too.
That combat system, I don't know what Rocksteady just found like magic in a bottle with that combat system. It's just perfect in my opinion.
Well, it has like that sort of like a rhythm, like it's almost like a rhythm game in a way.
Free flowing, I think they called it. It's just a blast.
And with Batman, it makes perfect sense. Like it feels good, and so many other games have tried to copy it with like mixed results. Like I'm also playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate still, but at this point, I'm probably just going to finish out the story just because I've put too much time into it, and I need to move on to other things. But it does like Arkham Combat, and it's fine, but it doesn't feel nearly as good as it does in the Arkham games. You know, like Arkham Asylum is one of the few games I like got all the little collectibles in and all that stuff because it was so good. In fact, I think it was the last game I played on my PS4 before I traded it for my Xbox. But I have it, and I'd love to play it again on my Xbox. But I need to get Knockout City first.
Yeah,
because I just need to get that one under my belt. Because a lot of people, that's the best game in the series.
City's really good too.
It's between Asylum and City for most people, you know. So
just the banter between Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill is like priceless in that game.
Oh yeah, but Asylum is such a tight made game. It's phenomenal. You know?
I love the fact that they were so confident in it that they actually put the little sneak peek of City like in that hidden room.
Yeah, I love that.
I mean, they were right because that game's fucking perfect.
Yeah, it's a shame that I'm kind of worried about Rocksteady right now with that Suicide Squad game coming out.
I've heard nothing but mixed things. Like it's people either really like it or they hate it. There's like no in between.
I think it's like the Avengers game. It's just going to shit the bed. And at least with like Crystal Dynamics, they were able to they got bought by Embracer, but they also have support from Microsoft as well, which I think is what keeps them afloat. But with Rocksteady, especially with all the weird stuff Warner Brothers has been doing, like if this game doesn't hit, is Rocksteady going to get closed? And if so, that fucking sucks. Because I think I mean, Suicide Squad I think it's going to bomb. Genuinely, I do. And I just hope that they're able to recoup and actually they'll either do like another Batman Arkham game or like let them do a Superman game or something. You know, like don't let Rocksteady go. They're way too good and have too much validity to let them go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll see. Like their track record is pretty perfect at this point, so I feel like one misstep wouldn't kill them, but also like Warner Brothers is so confusing right now.
Well, and also in the industry right now, you kind of need to hit every time. Otherwise you're fucked. You know, like look at the dev studio that made Callisto Protocol. Like they formed, did the whole thing for that one game, and it kind of underperformed. And now it's like they're probably going to dissolve.
I think that's what happened to the Forspoken studio.
Yeah,
people that remember Forspoken.
Yeah, like devs aren't allowed to have a couple goes at it before they really hit anymore. You know, like did Rockstar hit out of the gate? No, it took them a long time to get their footing.
I mean, yeah. Does anyone remember like Body Harvest and like
I do.
Silicon Valley? I fucking love Space Station.
I
Silicon
do.
Valley.
Good old DMA design.
DMA was so good.
Even the early GTAs are kind of clunky. So.
Oh yeah, the top downers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only other games. Let's see, Rocksteady. They did Asylum City Night, Arkham VR, which I forgot was a thing. Suicide Squad. Oh yeah, their first game. Did you ever play Urban Chaos Riot Response?
No, you know what? I've seen that on the shelf. I should get it just to see.
I'm told for a FPS from the PS2 era, not bad. Not bad. Though you wouldn't expect this studio and this team to go to what they eventually went to, but yeah,
see, I don't think anyone had the expectations for Arkham Asylum that like that Rocksteady did, because most people, like, at that point, superhero games were like Spider-Man would put out like a average decent game every now and then, but for the most part, superhero games just sucked.
I mean, original Spider-Man 2 still holds up.
Well, yeah,
One
the
based on
PS,
the movie.
the PS2, Xbox, GameCube game, that one gets a pass just for how fucking good the web swinging was. But
Yeah, it's still a fun game.
Oh, yeah.
My balloon. Oh no, my balloon. And then, of course, the famous pizza delivery music. A lot of memes in there. But yeah, like superhero games are such hit and miss before Arkham Asylum. I mean, Batman had a couple good ones. The NES game. I'm starting to hear slander about the NES Batman game, guys. No, that game is good. Okay,
it's too hard, so we hate it now. Blah, blah,
it's
blah.
not that. It's not that hard. It's really not.
I know. I mean, people like
Though the
people get
Joker, the
so-
final boss battle with the Joker fucking sucks.
Well, I mean,
That boss sucks, but the rest of the game is phenomenal.
that's just NES gaming for you. It was like they had to design it that way for the time, but
But there were still some good Batman games before that, and
Batman Returns was a pretty good beat 'em up.
I'm gonna say the Genesis Batman games were pretty good. They were different, but they were good.
So there was the Adventures of Batman and Robin, and there was two different versions. There was the Super Nintendo one, which was more of a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and then there was the Genesis one, which is like technical wizardry on the Genesis.
Yeah, it's like a shoot 'em up.
Yeah, it's like a shoot 'em
Basically.
up with like pseudo
It's phenomenal.
3D graphics. Like,
Oh, yeah.
one of the most insane soundtracks on Genesis.
Yeah, I had that game. Phenomenal game. But I was also talking about like the two games based on the Tim Burton movies for the Genesis were different games, like
Yeah.
entirely, and they're pretty good as well. So Batman is one of the few superheroes that, like, if you look at his video game lineage, it's not all bad. There's actually like some good stuff, even
The
pre
two-
Arkham.
The two biggest winners were probably Batman and Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, because they're
'Cause, I mean,
easier.
even
They're easier to
even-
make games on.
Because even PS1 Spider-Man is still a good game, even if
Oh,
it's
yeah.
really dated.
But shout out to Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. Great
Oh,
game.
yeah, prototype.
Yeah. And then that 360 Captain America game. Not bad. It's not bad. I have it over there. It's not a bad game. Surprisingly. And it was part of that weird like Sega publishing like Iron Man, which Iron Man wasn't good, but somehow that Captain America, it's like a Bayonetta clone or something. But it works.
And then there's poor Superman who just can't make a good game.
Superman's a tough one, you know. Like probably the Superman game I enjoyed the most was Superman Returns.
Oh yeah, that's the one where they came up with that great idea of, rather than giving Superman a health bar, give the city a health bar.
It was trying to be different because it's like, well, Superman does. Why would he have a health bar? That's stupid. It was, and it definitely was influenced by Spider-Man too. So it's trying. Like, at least with Superman Returns, I play it and I'm like, there's an attempt being made to do something to kind of fit, you know.
The one on GameCube and
didn't
PS,
hit.
the one on GameCube and PS2 was all right as well.
Shadow of Acropolis, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't good, but it wasn't bad either.
It's
was
okay.
It was, for Superman standards, it was great. So
that's why I'd like to see Rocksteady attempt a Superman game, because if anybody could make it work, I think they could do it. If they couldn't, then just never do it again. That's my take.
But before this just becomes a full-on comic book podcast, we should probably jump over to our topic for this episode.
Yes.
So we had said 2 episodes ago we were going to be talking about a little fun game, Incredible Machine. Nice big long box here.
Oh yes, over 200 brain-twisting puzzles, plus a fantastic puzzle builder.
So, going on this one, I guess like initial impressions. Did you play this game previously before you played the 3DO version?
No, because interestingly enough, this is a series.
Yes, a long-running series.
Yes, because a guy I work with who's also really into gaming, and we talk about that stuff a lot. I brought this up to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that game I played on back in middle school on the computer." You know, and I was like, "What?" And then I looked it up. Yeah, it was a series of mostly PC games from the mid 90s up until about the early 2000s, even with this 3DO version we have, as far as I know, the only console version ever of this game. So yeah, but I never knew about it beforehand. Like, I learned about this game when I was digging through the 3DO's library and seeing a Rube Goldberg puzzle machine, like video, like puzzle game. And I'm like, oh, I'm fucking in. That sounds brilliant, you know? So that's what I thought. What did you think?
So I actually had previously experienced this game years ago back on so we were me and Alex, my sister, we were in like one of those after school, like, quote unquote, like daycare programs, because parents were still at work. We couldn't go home at the time, so we kind of went to one of those things. And I always remember they had a computer set up with a bunch of games preloaded into it, and this game was actually on there, like one of the PC versions. I don't know if it was exactly this version. It was a version of this, and I remember you couldn't always use the computer because you had to share with everyone. So I remember just watching someone playing it back in the day. Thought it was interesting, but usually when I was using the computer, I was playing Sonic 3. So, but impression wise, it looked fun. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Now, I guess brief history of the game. Obviously the game series has been going on forever. I mean, the earliest is probably 93 was the original release,
which I believe this version is based on, like, the original DOS version of the game. And funnily enough, according to Wikipedia, this game was originally going to be developed by our old friends Electronic Arts for the Commodore 64 back in like the 80s. But the company who eventually did make it, which I believe is Jeff Tunnel Productions, instead worked on it. So it said it was programmed in 9 months on a budget of $36,000.
And looking into Jeff Tunnel Productions' history, most of it is literally they've made The Incredible Machine a lot. They pretty much handled most ports of it. Their one original game was a game called Quarky and Corksu's Turbo Science. So they were an educational game studio.
Yeah, and looking at Jeff Tunnel's, I hope I'm saying that right, his gameography, I guess. It's a lot of Sierra Online stuff in the 90s.
Yes.
Like Rise of the Dragon, let's see, Bouncers for the Sega CD, 3D Ultra Pinball, Creep Night, Marble Blast Ultra. Like, games used to be called these things, people.
Yeah, because the company that published this, and they also handled a lot of the development for some of the other versions, was a company called Dynamics.
Yes.
And Dynamics, like you're saying, like 3D Ultra Pinball, all these crazy, a lot of educational games, and actually like that opening startup screen, like where like the little blue creature that you can see it in the background there.
Yeah.
Says Dynamics. That actually triggered a memory in my brain, because one of the games they actually one of the games that's actually listed in their gameography that I noticed was like this little game called Train Town.
Train Town.
I had that on my PC back in the day. And
is it like a railroad tycoon type game?
It's not really a tycoon. It was more it was actually a puzzle game where you would have to like do different challenges by like building railroad tracks. Kind of very similar to this.
Oh, interesting.
I gotta see if I still own it somewhere, because I'd love to give it a shot again.
Yeah, it sounds like a good way of getting a kid's brain working.
Yeah. Then you could crash the trains, and that was always fun.
Fucking weirdos.
Yeah. Yeah. So interestingly, though, this is the lone console port. And
yeah. Apparently, at least according to the little research we did, though there's a game called Sid and Al's Incredible Tunes, which is like similar to Incredible Machine, but not really the same. And that got a console port for the Saturn and PlayStation, but only in Japan. So yeah, and I guess there was a mobile version of Incredible Machine done a couple years back as well, and you can get what's the Incredible Machine Mega Pack on GOG, where it gives you like I think like 4 or 5 of the games in the series. So, because yeah, definitely playing this game, it is a PC style game. You know,
I have no idea if the 3DO mouse is compatible with this.
you should find out.
I'd have to find one. That's the thing.
3DO mouse. Let's see.
I saw one on eBay when I was looking at controllers, and it's a mouse, all right. It's literally a brick. It's like the funniest looking thing ever.
Oh, not at these prices.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely not. Well, it was worth a look.
Yeah. I mean, this game plays perfectly fine with controller. It's a little stiff, but I mean, that's expected for this type of game on a controller.
Oh, yeah, but it works fine for what it's trying to do. But I have the good old manual with me.
Nice.
And in here, there's something called What's It All About? So, listeners, I'm going to tell you what it's all about. If you're the kind of person who gets off on gadgets and gizmos and insanely complicated contraptions, you're going to go wild over the Incredible Machine. There are 208 puzzles here awaiting your creative genius. Basically, the game works like this. You get a puzzle, a goal, and a bunch of spare parts. Your challenge is to figure out how the spare parts fit in to solve the puzzle. Or you can become the machine maker and build your own puzzles. See how weird and tough and crazy you can make them. Then test them out on your pals. But be careful. Too much machine mania can have some pretty spooky side effects. What am I going to turn to a mass murderer?
Who knows? 90s.
But yeah, that's essentially what it is. So for those who don't know, the term Rube Goldberg machine is basically an American cartoonist named Rube Goldberg used to make these like pictures of like these very like kind of complicated ways of solving very simple tasks. You know, like probably the famous one is the self-operating napkin, where it's like attaches to the dude's head and it's all this weird shit, you know? Or if you remember the opening of Flubber, where he's like trying to get like the breakfast made for him, and it's like this weird, like convoluted contraption to do all this stuff. It is definitely modeled after the idea of the Rube Goldberg machine.
Most of Wallace and Gromit's contraptions back in that series.
Yes. That's another good one as well. So if you're curious, you know, you can look into Rube Goldberg machines and the drawings. They are very fascinating to look at. Like, I think they're meant to be funny, you know, like, oh, look how silly this is. But if anything, they're just kind of interesting to look at, like the ingenuity of like how somebody would think of this weird roundabout way to do something that's incredibly simple, you know?
Yes. Oh, go on.
No, please.
I lost my train of thought. It's all right.
So basically, this game is taking the idea of the Rube Goldberg machine and turning it into an interactive puzzle game. So as it says, you'll have a goal saying like, oh, get this ball into this, you know, hole or whatever. And you'll have like different ramps and like conveyor belts and like rubber bands, ropes, all this weird stuff that you have to try to put together to form this, you know, kind of contraption to get it to where it needs to go. You know, like in a way, it kind of abandons like traditional logic, but with all good puzzle games, they kind of have their own logic, and that you can kind of stick with that logic to figure out how the game works. Like you'll learn, oh, if something hits like the little rat box, it'll trigger it to start running. And then you can use that to attach to like a conveyor belt to get something to move across it, you know, say like a magnifying glass to shoot off a rocket or something crazy like that.
It's really fun because a lot of the puzzles are like designed to make you think outside of the box, but also make you overthink things at the same time.
Yes. I mean, the whole idea of a Rube Goldberg machine is overthinking things. But what I like is it really allows your brain to work. You know, it definitely feels like an educational game, but in a sense that it's also really entertaining. because it's educating you in sort of, in a way, like physics and gravity and how that kind of works, because it's fairly realistic for what it is and what it's trying to do. And if anything, it just kind of creates problem solving skills, like how do I get this thing over here and all that kind of stuff.
Like I'll say, like, the first day I attempted to do my research for this episode, I was playing this game. I had a couple drinks and I was like, I got 2 levels and I was like, yeah, this ain't happening tonight. I was like, nope, too much brain. Not enough.
You need to be stone cold sober to play this one.
Yeah, like my brain was like, stop. You've had enough, sir.
Yeah, and there are 208 puzzles. How many did you end up doing?
I did like 40.
Okay, I did about 30, 35. So
they get pretty intense as they go on.
Oh yeah. In fact, there's some YouTube videos of people playing like even further in, and yeah, the creativity of the developers to make up these weird things is also absolutely something to note as well. And yeah, I just love how the game just kind of makes you think in very weird, interesting things. And also I love how unique it is, because there's no other game like this. Not really. Like I have quite a soft spot for puzzle games, especially puzzle games that do very interesting things, like slightly off topic. I've really heard good things about Subliminal, and that's a puzzle game that I definitely should check out, because it looks like something that I would really, really enjoy, And of course, there's the Portal games as well, which handle puzzles in a very unique way, and those games are masterpieces. And honestly, I would kind of put Incredible Machine in that line of like really unique puzzle games, because even if it has like an educational side to it, that, and to some people that's a dirty word in gaming, here I think it's done very well. Like it's not pandering to you or anything, and you could see like a teacher overlooking like the shoulder of a child, and he's trying to do this and be like, oh, he's just, that's not bad. He's not killing people or doing anything horrible. So
like the puzzles in this game, I kind of like, not the same genre at all, but I kind of align them in the same kind of like brain kind of thinking as like, say, like the Professor Layton series, where like it's not an educational game per se, but it's like a game that like really test your brain power and like thinking outside the box.
Yeah, because Professor Layton's puzzles are all logic based, but what helps with Layton is it also taps into sort of just like, I guess, common sense kind of things, because a lot of the stuff it asks you, or a lot of the puzzles, it tries to relate to like your own cognitive ability and your own experience in cognitive ability. There is one puzzle in the mainline 6 Layton games that I do not like, and I'll always remember it. It's in the first game, where it's essentially a riddle, and it's asking you.
I hated that one.
Yeah, it's basic. The answer is they're looking for like a compass, the thing you put like a little pencil in and draw a circle or whatever, right? And I didn't like it because people don't really use those anymore. Like even in 2007, when that game came out, like that was a very sort of old person thing. Like, I mean, I used a protractor, and I think that's what I used. What I said at first was, oh, it's a protractor, but it wasn't, So that was like the only example of a puzzle I could think of off the top of my head I didn't care for, in terms of like the more logic puzzles. But yeah, there's definitely a connection there.
Yeah.
But also Layton has like a really good story, and
Layton games are like puzzle games that have like these insane stories that like just go completely off the rails every episode.
Yeah, and I did get emotional at the end of one of them.
Was it 3 or was it 6?
3.
Okay, that's
because I was an idiot. Because I was an idiot and played 6 first before any of the others.
That game's like $200 now.
Yeah, I have it digitally on my 3DS. Because physically, when I was getting into the series, I think physically it was like 70, and I was like, I don't know about that. And then it's just gone up. But I also have the Phoenix Wright crossover, but that's also digital. And then I have the one starring his daughter on my Switch. So those are the only 2 I haven't played. But I played the 6th one first only because I was like, oh, what's considered the best one in the series? Because I was interested in them. And everyone said, oh, that's the best one. So I played that. And then when I finished it, and it goes right into the opening of the first one, Curious Village, I went, shit, maybe I shouldn't have played this one first, because then I ended up playing all the others. So when I finished Miracle Mask, I was like, do I want to do Azran again? And I was like, maybe not yet.
Yeah.
But I would like to play that one again.
Yeah, I remember, before we get back to 3DO, just one little off tangent. Like, I still remember when the crossover came out, I went to GameStop and the guy like literally was like, I haven't even put it on the fucking shelf yet because I didn't think anyone was gonna buy it. Because it was such an obscure game. So I made the guy actually have to go out in the back room and get it for me.
Good for you. Good for you. But yeah, I love the Layton series. It's one of my favorite video game series of all time. Like, so good. Just kind of hit me perfectly, you know. And to the listeners, if you're curious, I would say start with Diabolical Box. Yes. I think that's, if you want a one-off, that's the perfect one-off.
Curious Village has not aged the best. That's all I'll say.
No, it hasn't. But what's nice about Diabolical Box is that it feels like a standalone game. You know, like it gives you all the context you need kind of at the start, and it's just a really good singular story. And that ending is so fucking sad.
Yeah.
It's a rare instance of a game doing a sympathetic villain that I totally fell for. I was like, yes, I completely sympathize with this guy. So it did a good job. And also the puzzles were really good.
Yeah. We'll have to do like a Layton episode at some point when we're just doing spin-off episodes.
Yeah. I have the first 5 physically over on that stack over there. Because they're still cheap. Somewhere. Well, the last DS one, Last Spectre, was a bit pricey, but I went for it.
Yep.
And it's the worst one.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
it is what it is.
Depending on your thoughts on the crossover, some people really didn't like the crossover, but
I haven't played it yet, and I know a lot of people don't like the one starring his daughter.
The puzzles are fine. Like his daughter's a boring character.
Yeah, I'm excited for the new one, which I think is 25. I think that's when that comes out.
Nice.
So, day one, baby.
All right, but going back to Incredible Machine now. So this game's pretty interesting. When you start it up, you get 3 options of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
You have the
right there. You can solve puzzles.
Yep.
You can make puzzles, and then there's also the tutorial, which teaches you how to play the game. And I would recommend doing the tutorial
because going blind like me.
It gives you some very simple puzzles and kind of allows you to. It's like when you play like the first like 2 or 3 levels of the original Portal, you know, where it kind of eases you in to what's going on and you kind of figure it out at that point. So, and I did not mess with the making puzzles. I just don't think I have the brain power to make a Rube Goldberg machine.
To me, it was kind of like Mario Maker, where it's like, it's really cool, but I don't have the creativity to really do much with it.
I made a couple Mario Maker levels.
I made like 2, but like that was about all the creativity I could do.
Yeah. What I wanted to do, which I thought would have been interesting, was try to recreate like a handful of level, like if anything, the entirety of World 1 in Mario Maker 2 of Mario 3.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I thought about doing it, but I was like, the work I would have had to do to like get like reference pictures and do all the work just to like widescreen Mario 3. I would have called it like HD Mario 3 or something. Like the work probably wouldn't have been worth it. I'm sure people would have enjoyed it, but maybe somebody already did it. I don't know. Mario Maker kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool for a while. I mean, it still has a dedicated fan base, but
oh yeah,
it's not the hotness anymore.
No, I think it's fantastic. It's just after you've put a handful of hours into it, it's like, yeah, I know what this is.
Yeah.
You get way too many auto Mario levels, which just aren't really anything.
Thankfully, they put a separate category for those after a while and just kind of stuck them to the side so you wouldn't see them if you were trying to avoid them.
Yeah, and then like if it's like a hard level and it has like Japanese letters, you know it's going to be insanely hard.
Yeah.
Every time. And I don't know how they do it, but
that was my favorite part of that game is whenever you die and you just see all the X marks from all the previous players.
That was always funny. Always funny, yes.
So For this episode, though, because we're doing video now, I have props, and I figured we can kind of go over how this game controls. So it's very simple. It's a point and click kind of game, but you got your D-pad over here, moves your cursor around. It's okay. It's not the best control, but does the job.
Looks like a shitty D-pad.
So I'm using the Gold Star controller just because I think it's funny. But
fair enough.
Over here, then we have our A, B, and C's. A grabs your puzzle like contraption pieces and lets you drag them around, drag and drop them. B, once you have a piece dropped, it allows you to modify it, so you can either grow it in size depending on the piece, or you can rotate it or flip it.
Yes, and flipping is very important.
Yes. And then finally, C brings up your menu, which gives you all your options. Like there's the play button, which will activate the puzzle, which is very handy because sometimes when you look at a puzzle, you need to at least see what's going to happen before you actually start messing with it. So it'll run through everything, and then you can just go back and then start from there. And you could have unlimited tries with this, so you can just keep like seeing what goes and like figure stuff out.
Yeah, because a lot of the puzzles are challenging enough to figure out on their own. So having limited tries would just be kind of pointless, you know?
Yeah.
And when I would solve them, I would go step by step. Like I would put something in place and I'd be like, here, let me see if that's working, like the idea in my head. Right. And then I'd be like, okay, it is kind of going that way. And then, I would just kind of layer on top of it,
Yeah. Like it's a cool, like thing. And then you also get, there's the goal option, which gives you the prompt at the beginning again. There's a restart option that lets you start from scratch, because like one thing that's a little annoying is rubber bands are kind of a pain in the ass, and once you place them, they're stuck there.
I got some rubber bands out of there.
Okay, I must not have been able to figure it out.
It's very particular. Like if you want to move a rubber band, like you can do it, but it does kind of suck. I had more issue with the rope.
Yeah, rope was a pain too.
Yeah, because the rope they'll give you like the little anchors, and you essentially have to anchor it in order for it to do its thing. But I felt like I was learning how ropes, and especially there was the one puzzle where you have to guide the guy to his house, and all they give you are the seesaws and the ropes.
Yes.
That one I felt like a genius when I figured it out. Like, oh, this one, it'll hold this one down so it won't go down. But I felt so smart. This game makes me feel smart.
I love the puzzles too that try to trick you by because you don't have to always use all the items they give you.
No, and that's another great thing about the game is it gives you the tools to solve it essentially how the game wants you to. But there were a couple times where I solved the puzzle and I'm like, this probably wasn't the right way, but it worked.
Oh, like when you figure it out by sheer fucking accident. It's amazing.
Yeah, but I think it adds to the quality of the game because, and I think it was almost intentional. That kind of were like, hey, if you figure it out this way, it's all good, as long as you solve it, who cares how you solved it, So if anything, it also adds, as I said, to the creativity of the player. You learning to solve things on your own outside of like, the game, how the game wants you to solve it, it encourages you to sort of try different things out as well, So say in like the future, you can have more confidence in solving problems in maybe more real world capacities,
I did love that like eureka moment too when you figured one out. Like for me, like one of the ones that like stumped me for a few minutes was it's an early one where it's you got 3 balloons. You got to pop all 3 balloons.
Yeah.
And it only gives you 2 pairs of scissors to pop the balloons. So you kind of have to think about it. And the trick is there's a gear there that you're supposed to push the balloon into, but I didn't realize the gear at first was a sharp object. So I was like thinking like all around, like, how do I get this balloon to like pop? So like I was thinking like maybe like knock a ball into it or something would pop it, but that was overthinking it. And I just kind of like placed a ball to a side and just kind of forgot about it. And I had set up the bellows to take out the other 2 balloons. And I had a bellows set up like near the balloon. I was thinking like you had to like blow the balloon somehow. And it just happened to knock that ball into the bellows and hit the balloon into the gear. And I was like, oh, I'm like, that works.
Yeah. And that euphoria you get for solving it that way it feels good. Like this game definitely triggers that sort of reward thing in your brain, that makes you feel really good about it.
There was another one with like with like table fans that you had to you have to plug them into like wall sockets to get them to work.
Yeah, and they have to be, and I guess the cords are super fucking short because you have to be so close to it, And then if you tried to flip it, it would unplug, so you'd have to remove it around. But
there was another good one where it was the legit the prompt was like, that rat's fucking lazy, go wake it up. And you just get 3 trampolines and you have to figure it out from there. And so I overthought it. I thought like you'd have to like kind of make a trampoline bridge up to the rat, but the physics don't work that way. Like the ball needs to constantly gain momentum. So you actually have to space them out in like a certain way to get it to reach the rat. And it was like an interesting like way, because the first 3 are all evenly spaced, but then like the last one has so much momentum that you have to like just get it just right to get it up there, which was pretty interesting.
Yeah, because you do the first one, it would just go like that. Then the second one, I think I dropped it really low, so it would go really high, because then it could use that momentum to further go. And then the other one I put probably about middle way, so it would catch it and then it would move it in.
So I did it actually, they were all like level on the same plane, and it actually built enough momentum to get up there.
Okay. Yeah, I had them at different elevations.
So that's the other cool thing, is like there's just different ways to solve every puzzle.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way. The ends justify the means, as they say.
There's also a crazy one where like one of the items is literally a fucking revolver and you have to shoot the revolvers.
Oh, the one with like the 3, it's like the baseballs and then the 3 tennis balls, and you have to sort of line them up the revolvers to shoot just the 3 tennis balls.
Yep, there was that one. There was also one where you had to like use like ropes to like shoot off the revolvers with like weights and stuff.
Oh yeah, that one was good.
Like one of them you had to like link to a seesaw and like knock a bucket into the seesaw and shoot off the revolver.
It was so cool.
Once you got it to work, it was like, damn, that's cool.
Yeah, I just love the idea of this game, because it's just, you don't see this stuff, and it's executed so well, and it's just so much fun. This game is just super fun for me.
The sad thing is there's not much else to say about it. It's just a really fun game.
No, but the thing is with puzzle games, there usually isn't that much to say, Like if we were to do an episode on Tetris, like there's not much to say. It's just Tetris. But it's so fucking good. What does it matter, Yeah. These puzzle games are usually very simple. Like usually it's the most simple ones that work. An Incredible Machine, despite all this wacky stuff, it is very simple at the end of the day. It's just trying to solve little issues. And it gives you the tools to kind of figure it out. And it's all executed perfectly well. So that's what matters,
I kind of wish there was a multiplayer option. Like you could have like, obviously this is primitive for the time, so it probably wouldn't have been thought of, but like 2 people trying to solve puzzles, like that would be interesting.
Like which one solves it faster?
Yeah, either that or like you could like tag team, like teamwork it. Like if say one person's stuck. I mean, who knows? Maybe the later versions do this. I don't know.
I mean, in theory, you could tag team it, because you could just say sit with somebody with this, and be like, oh, like I can't figure it out, and then they get the controller, and they're like, oh, you do this and this. You could make your own co-op.
Yeah,
homemade co-op.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, other than that, there's no save. I don't think it saves at all.
No, it saves the puzzles. Like the last puzzle you're on, it saves you.
Okay, good to know. So I can come back.
I mean, there's 208 some odd puzzles, so you kind of need a save.
True.
But you can't delete that save, or as far as I know, there's no way to go back to the old puzzles. Maybe unless you solve all of them, maybe you can go back. So when I restarted this, I deleted my save file so I could start from scratch, because I wanted to do all the older ones again.
So if you have an FC1, get fucked. Basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, because
there's no memory manager.
There's no memory manager on here. No.
That's just funny to think about in hindsight. Yeah. It's like, you can't go back. Oh, you want to delete your save? Well, if you have an FC1, sorry.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, RIP FC1 players.
Yeah.
Graphics, I mean, it looks fine. You know,
It's a 90s PC game.
Yeah, but it has more detail than the PC versions. If you look those up, those are much more plain. These definitely are an upgrade in the presentation, because also the sound design. Like, I think it's the same tunes that are in the PC version, but the versions on here are really good. Like, I really enjoyed the music in this game.
It was calming. Like, I had a podcast going on in the background. I actually turned it off just to kind of like listen to the music. I'm like, it's not bad.
Yeah, and music is very important in a puzzle game, because it helps kind of keep you going, you know, and this game does a great job with that. I really like the tunes. They're kind of funky, you know, but they're not too much, but they're not too little. So, and there's quite a few. I think there's like, 4 or 5 tracks in here, and they're all really well done.
It's enough to keep you from getting bored and not get too repetitive.
I'd love to have them on like a Spotify playlist so I could listen to them at work.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with 3DO games, finding the soundtracks or just games like this is harder to find.
Oh, absolutely.
The only other thing is like there's between each stage, there's actually a narrator who will read off the prompt to you. He does a good job. He's pretty enthusiastic about it, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, he has a little of that. I don't know. I guess I call it like teacher voice.
Yeah.
Where he's like trying to be like enthused for like the kids. You know?
Yeah, he's hamming it up a little bit, which
I'm
bit.
Fine with. Oh yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah. Other than that, though, not a whole lot to say. It's a fun game. I love that opening. You can see it right now in the background. That opening CGI.
Yeah, and it looks like not bad for what it is.
3DO era, like CG. It's not bad.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Perfectly captures the gist of what the game is.
100%. And it looks great.
Boxing gloves into the bellows. The fan was pretty funny too. Like,
yeah, because also just the joy of watching a Rube Goldberg machine. You know, I feel like it triggers the same part of my brain that watches like when people make those very complex like domino setups.
Yeah,
you know. Like I can't imagine the amount of time it takes to set that up. I couldn't imagine.
I'll set it up just to knock it over.
But I put it on YouTube and it gets like 3 million hits, so it's all worth it.
Yes. But yeah, so this one I already can kind of predict, but must play, okay, stay away. I mean,
well,
play.
What did people think at the time?
That's true. Reception wise, finding info on the 3DO version in particular wasn't exactly the easiest thing to find. Apparently it got a 7.5 out of 10 from EGM, so
not bad.
They complained the controls were slow, and it doesn't support the mouse apparently.
Oh, that's okay.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, but with this kind of game, you don't really need fast controls. You don't need twitch reflexes for this thing.
Yeah. For the PC versions, though, they were all like extremely well received. So.
Oh yeah, like apparently it was nominated for an award at the GDC, which is pretty cool. Back in the day,
the 3DO version was praised though for its improved graphics and sound. So.
Oh yeah, it definitely looks better than the PC version. Like if you've looked at footage of it, that gets much more plain. You know, like kind of Windows 95. You know, this is closer to like Windows 2000 or something.
Yeah. But yeah, so must play, okay, stay away. I mean, obvious must play from me.
1000% must play for me. I love this game.
Like, honestly, I'd even say the 3DO version, it might be the best version of it. Just
most likely
of the original version. I don't know about the later versions. They're probably better, but
I'd be curious to the later versions just in terms of it's probably just like more puzzles that they thought of, you know, so they probably added new elements and all that. Apparently you can get this on your phone, I think. Some by those iOS versions. Yeah.
So
in fact,
that's another.
I have an Android, so let's see if it's on here.
While you do that, I'm actually looking at it now. I think this is 3 double must plays in a row now.
Most likely. Let's see. No Incredible Machine, but I can play Lemmings.
That's fun.
No. Yeah, I was never a Lemmings guy.
Nah.
But yeah, but we have to ask: is this better than Road Rash?
No, but
I'm gonna say yes.
okay. I mean,
But that's the thing. My brain loves this shit, and Road Rash is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but if it's like a good puzzle game and I can just sit at it and slave at it for hours and do all this stuff, it's perfect for me. So for me, this was like I don't know if and when I'll ever put Road Rash in again. This game I could see every once in a while popping it in and playing a couple more puzzles. It
That's
has
fair.
that replayability, which for a puzzle game is essential. And it just I don't know, it clicked all the right spots in my brain. So for me, for Thrax's sake, this is the number one 3DO game for me.
Okay.
I love it to death.
See, I'm a shameless racing fan, so
And that's fine. Road Rash is a great example of a racing game.
Okay, so at some point we're gonna have to do like a ranking of all the 3DO games we played.
Oh God.
Because we're getting a lot of really good ones lately. So
yeah, surprisingly.
But that might have to change because I think for the next episode I was thinking we'd do another vote.
Yeah, we should do that. What games are you thinking?
I was thinking we haven't covered these yet. Maybe a fighting game.
Which ones are you implying, sir?
Well, we got some options. We could say
we do.
We got Way of the Warrior. We got Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Balls 3D.
I don't have Balls 3D.
There's also
I have the other two.
There's also, I think, Samurai Showdown.
Oh yeah, Samurai Showdown was on 3DO. Yeah, I think that's a pricey one as well.
Maybe. I have the loose disc. So
yeah. Well, we can put up those 4, I guess. 2 of those I would have to play on emulator. Sorry, people.
Yeah, that's fine. I have a feeling which one's going to win either way, but
I have a feeling too.
But yeah, so we'll throw that vote up there. But in the meantime, what are we going to cover next week is the real question.
I'm not sure. You have anything?
Well, we just covered... We did just cover a company behind it, and I don't think we should do that right away again. Trying to think. Could talk about maybe a compare and contrast episode. Talk about the FC1, FC10, maybe.
Yeah, why not?
Give them a little. Try and talk about the little differences because they surprisingly are pretty different little systems there. So yeah, let's do a rundown. Let's compare and contrast the FC1, FC10, and see which one is truly the superior 3DO.
That's a great idea.
All right. So that poll will hopefully be up either tomorrow or, probably tomorrow after this episode airs. So, yeah. And then next week we'll talk about the consoles themselves. And with that, once again, guys, thanks for joining us on the 3DO Experience. You can find the 3DO Experience on all the major podcasting platforms. We're now available on YouTube with a video version of this podcast, which will be appearing probably actually right before this episode even airs. So if you're paying attention, you'll find it. And other than that, you can find all of our links at linktree/theBarbWhoGames, and you can join the GNC podcast and Discord server if you'd like, where we can find all your information on gaming, collecting, 3DO Experience, Geek Addicts, talk gaming, anime, just general nonsense. It's a fun place. We're all pretty nice there.
And there's an infestation of Kermit memes, and there's a whole channel about staying hydrated.
Yeah, there's an entire channel dedicated to water bottles. It's interesting.
Yes, not Stanley Cups, no hockey here, just water in general. That's a weird craze, isn't it?
I didn't realize there was actually a cup called the Stanley Cup that you could buy.
Yes, and like people are beating each other up over them. It's weird.
They can go do that. I'll just watch in the corner, I guess.
Yeah. If anyone's curious, I have an Owala that's kind of beat up, but it has a nice little sticker of Gunst on it. Shout out to Shining Force Central, who make the stickers for all the Shining Force characters. I also have one for Xylo. He's on my computer here. So yeah. So shout out to Shining Force Central. Love you.
Awesome. And with that, we will see you all next time.
Bye-bye.
If you're not playing on a 3DO system, what are you playing with?